Guys, my internet
Well
isn't very good.
done.
It occasionally stops working for absolutely no reason, and I don't know why. It just does. There we go. I'm back again.
Did
Uh,
Malatak ever say how he learned to script?
yes, I haven't mentioned that. That's a good question. I learnt using the wiki, the Roblox wiki, which isn't the best
So
for
no wonder why you're
everything.
so bad at it.
Yeah, but it's some useful stuff. I learnt it from asking on the Scripters Helpers forum, which I'm not entirely sure is a good idea now, but it did work when I was learning it. And if you sometimes, if you're looking at free models, you can actually find some useful code in there, and you can just dissect how it works and
Malatak
find
uses
out.
free models.
Ha ha ha! Very funny. And actually now, RBX Dev teaches me how to script most of the time. Anyway, where was I? Yes, you can call your function anything, such as Raleigh Jock is scrub. Then you have an open
I love this
bracket.
function. It's the best.
Yes. Now don't worry about this too much yet. I'll explain it a little later. So for now, let's put an open bracket and a closed bracket afterwards, and then put your ends. Now, one small thing you may notice, I'm pressing Tab to move the code outwards. It is purely cosmetic. It doesn't have any function other than to make it easier to read when you're looking back at your code. It also reminds me, if you type two hyphens, you can start writing a comment such as very imaginative. It's just, put little notes for yourself about your code, which might be helpful later. Like, that'll help later. So we've got the function. So if we remove our while loop out of it, so that now we just have this, you can then make this run by typing the name of your function, so Raleigh Jock is scrub, and then your open brackets and your closed brackets, and then that will run the function every time you type that in your code. So there you go, it disappeared and reappeared. Didn't see it very well, but it did. So that's all well and good, but it's still not that useful. So what you need to do is connect it so that this runs when something in the game world happens. So if we
We'll set it up to, I don't know, walk on it.
yeah,
Do.
so if we
Walk on another brick, that'll do. Set it to that.
so if we find our brick again, so game dot workspace dot part. Now each object will have different things which can make a function run. So a part will have touched, type dot touched, and then it tells the game that you want it to do something every time the part's touched by something else. You type a colon, connect, open bracket, your function name, Raleigh Jock is scrub, and close it again. Right, as you can see, this means that every time something touches that part, it will run Raleigh Jock is a scrub, which makes it transparent, then visible again. So if you click little play solo to get your character in the game, there you go. Now I have something that might be useful. For example, you can change this, that instead of changing the transparency, if you change the can collide property, set it to false, oops, wait a bit, and then you set it to true again, you now have what is basically a very simple door. Oh, where'd it go? My door's vanished. Oh, I've killed my door. It touched the base plate, turned the collisions off and died.
That's
There you
yeah.
go.
Well done.
You need to have messed up one of the
You forgot
simplest
to.
scripts you can
You,
possibly do. Right, I've anchored it, so there you go.
you forgot to anchor the brick. Well done.
Now walk through it. Now you may have noticed when I was doing transparency that it occasionally flickered a little more than it should. Now that's because my character has more than one part, it's not just one block going over it, and it's going to be touching it more than once. So that means that even though I only walked over the brick once, the code has received this part has been touched message multiple times. And that means this has run multiple times, even though we only want it to run once.
Right. Well, technically, you've now built a door.
Yep, very
So
simple one, but
I would now quickly go over how all of this works, and then we can move on to some more advanced stuff. For anyone that's moved in, just
yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so everyone, quick recap. Everything's a member of game. Everything's part of game on your family tree, and you use this little dot to go down your family tree and find different stuff in your game. In this case, go into workspace where the physical objects are, go into your part, go into its can collide property and turn it off. Once you have a function, they run all the code inside of them. You can call them whatever you want, and then you can use this little thing, this little line here, to run those functions when something in the game will happen. Okay, nice and simple. So I was just saying earlier that the code will often run multiple times when you don't want it to. So it's very easy to fix this if you change this to say enabled. So it's still the same thing, it's got a different name now. And yeah, say hello to our good old friend if statement again. Okay, so now it only runs when it's true. So after it's run, if you then put enabled as false, this code will now only run once. But also you don't want it to run once, you want it to run multiple times, just not all at the same time. So after the code's finished running, you can then put enabled is true, and now whenever you touch it, it will only run this code once, and it'll only run again after it's finished running, if that made sense. So it's very useful in all kinds of scripts. For example, if I had a click to open door, if you didn't have this little bit here if you clicked it multiple times, the door would just shoot open, and all the parts would fly out, and it'll all fly back in again. It would all look really weird and not be very good. But very important thing there. Right, so I've got absolute basic door. But it's not very fancy. It's, you're not going to win any awards for it, so to speak. So I will show you another type of loop, and this one is called a for loop. And predictably, it starts with 4. So now you type the name of a variable. It can be any name. It can be, it doesn't really matter, but for some reason the convention is that we call it I. Don't know, just is. And then if you can then type equals, and then this is going to be the number of times you want the code to run, almost. Let me explain a bit more. Right, there we go. So I equals, and this number here, I've done this wrong way around, that's embarrassing. Okay. Sorry, sometimes I'm used to it counting down.
You write a script. Absolutely every time. You always have some problems, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to tell everyone right now, you will never write a script that works first time. Almost never.
Yeah, if you manage to write a script first time in one go, without any errors, and it just works 100% perfectly, then you are basically God.
Yeah. There's so many different ways you can make mistakes, as I just showed. So you're going to have to get used to fixing the code quite a lot. So this, as I said, it could be anything. It could be knowledge arc. It doesn't really matter. I could, for example, put yo equals 1 and just have yo here. What matters is that you have something here, and that's the number you start at. And you have a comma and number you end at. So what will happen here is this loop will run from the first number here, and then it will keep counting up until you reach this number here. So it will run 10 times in this case. So, you know, we could put game.workspace.part.transparency. Then, a little nifty trick you can use. If you copy and paste that in, and then add plus 0.1, every time this loop goes round, the part's transparency will increase by 0.1. Which means I can then add a short wait here and run the code. Okay, nothing's happening, that's very worrying. What have I done?
You're good with this.
My studio has absolutely slaughtered itself. Seriously,
Yes.
I've already broken something. How have I managed that? Oh, of course! It's part of the functions. I've forgotten it was in that. Oh dear. Yes, you're going to be laughing at me now. Right. So if I need to get my character in game so I can touch it. Right, because it's still connected to run when this part's touched. If I touch it, woohoo! It fades.
Woo.
Well, I'm getting somewhere. It's getting a bit more advanced now.
For anyone that has missed this, but what definitely wants, go back. You can just, we'll archive this one, so you can definitely go back over it and
Yeah.
revel in the moments where Malattack continuously fails.
Story of my life.
Yes.
So yeah, so you can make it fade faster or slower by changing its number and so on. Okay, all very simple. Of course, to make it fade like this, you can also make it move. So for now, is change it with position. You shouldn't use this in your actual code because it's all a bit buggy. Now, next concept you have to come to grips with is something called vectors. So if you're doing something like a position or a speed, you need to type vector3.new. Then you need to type 3 values separated by commas, which represent X, Y, and Z, the 3 directions in 3D space. As you can see, if you look at the little bottom left of my screen, you can see there's a little compassy thing which shows which direction each letter represents. So if I want to make this move along the Z, I'll type 0,
Now,
0.
I'm just going to quickly stop you there.
Oh, yeah,
Some
okay.
people don't actually have that compass, so show them how to get it.
Good point, I forgot. Now, it sounds simple, but I added that little compass in using the old version of Studio, and I don't have the faintest clue how to... Here we go, display axis. Go into view, display axis, and you have your own little compassy thing. Right, okay, well that's out of the way. It helps, it took me ages to discover that, and so I spent ages kind of just trying to figure out which direction was which. Right, so...
Yeah, when it gets to left and right, you just sort of give up because you don't have your own IRL compass.
Yeah.
You're useless.
As you can see, we don't want to change the X value, which is the first one, so we leave that as 0. We don't want to make it go up or down, so Y is 0. But we do want to make it move along Z, so I've made this 1. So that means every time this loop will run, we will increase the Z position of the part by this vector, which is just a way of expressing, positions, velocities, pretty much anything that will exist in 3D space. If we run that, it will move along Z by 1 each time. I think I thought, right, let's just hope this works, that'll look stupid. There we go. It's not got a weight, so it's moving all 10 at once at the moment.
Yes, he's making a moving door. Yes.
Yep, amazing. It's the very first part of the moving door. It's a miracle.
Yes, it didn't actually explain what you're going to end up with by the end of this, and the idea is a door that will move out of your way.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Bit jerky at the moment, but you know, very simple. Right, let's see what should we do next. So just using position was more of an example. The thing with position is that if I say put another part into the game here and move it right like that, you'll notice it jumps over the part. Now that's not going to be any good. You don't want your door to suddenly teleport on top of the building every time someone tries to walk through it. That's going to look a bit awkward, isn't it? So we have to use, it's the part you've all been waiting for, C-frame. Dun dun dun. I don't know why, but everyone keeps asking me about C-frame. In the way we're doing it, it gets a little confusing here, as C-frames can behave a bit oddly, as the C-frame is actually a very, very long value of numbers which represent its position and rotation. So just doing something like game.workspace.part.cframe equals game.workspace.part.cframe plus this, it will mess up the rotation, won't act properly. So we need to use a little trick. Instead of using this here, we need to start with that. Crap, I've actually forgotten how to do this. Isn't that amazing? As you can tell, we haven't rehearsed this properly beforehand, and maybe we should have. Because even I tend to forget how these things work sometimes.
Do you need to go back to free models to look at code again?
I'm actually going to have to look at my old code. I can't remember how I did it. There you go. Open up the lab for you. Oh, there are going to be some people laughing at me now. Even geniuses forget things sometimes, or in my case, every single thing of every second of the day, I just forget everything.
You know, he forgets he has a grip and I have to run it for him.
I'm all very grateful.
And that's a fact. Do I make anything out of it? No, I don't make any money.
You make fame and friends, what more do you want?
Money. Friends are useless. Friends stab you in the back. And I get stalkers.
Okay, I remember how to do this now. It sometimes gets you confused with C-frame because it does act oddly. Okay, so I mean, you can actually just use like the old code. Sorry for the confusion about that. C-frames can be a bit confusing as they do use very odd things. And one of the things you need to put here is there is one little thing you need to put .p. Now this, if I just use .c-frame, it's going to take the entirety of the rotations and angles and what? Actually, I'm lying again, aren't I?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Forget everything I said in the last 5 minutes and just focus on the fact. If you want to make the door move properly, you need to use .c-frame.
Yeah, we'll start back from C-frame.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to use .c-frame, and then .c-frame again, and then plus the amount you want to move it by, which is a vector 3. Right. Okay. Sorry for messing things up there. I swear I am a good coder, even if I don't look like one. So this time it should move through the part. There we go. It's working properly now. It's moving through the part. As you can see, we've now got almost a complete door. If I change it to move a little slower, so have it to 100, and change this to 0.1, and reduce this time here. Nope. Yep, keep time same actually. And try it should, in theory, move quite smoothly. There we go. So the door's almost ready now. Right, so let's just make this look a little more door-like, shall we? Let's do some of my pro building. 1337 building skills.
Yes, you're great at building, aren't you?
In theory.
But in practice, no.
There we go, got a nice little door. Now, one of the things you're going to be noticing is that because I am doing this from top down, so from game into workspace and then into the part name, for each door I create, I'm going to need to call it a different name, because at the moment there's 5 different parts, all with the same name, and so the script will get confused, and so that means every single door you build has to have a different name, you have to change the script to use that different name, and that's an absolute pain. So what you can do is call this part door and put it in a model. Just hold control and click all the parts you want to join.
Right. I was going to say something and I completely forgot.
Okay, whatever. And click group. It's now part of a model. And I shall put our script inside it as well. Now, instead of doing it from the top down, you can do this. You can start, if you type script, you will start with your script. So I've selected my script here, which is inside the model. And then, if you type, right there, if you're doing your dot, which normally used to move down, if you type dot parent instead, you've moved up your family tree to the parent of it, which in this case is the model. And you can move down again to the door. And,
You need to explain in slightly more detail what parent means.
so the parent, when we move down from workspace into the part, that part is what we've called in scripting the child of workspace. It sounds a bit weird when you're writing code, but this model is a child of workspace. The script is a child of model, and these properties here are child of door. So so it's obviously a child of the parent, and so if you use dot parent, you then go to the parent, which in the case of door is model, for the model it's workspace, and so on and so forth. That then means using this method, because that's how many of these models we make, it's always going to start here at the script, go to the model, then go to the door. So you can have as many of these doors as we like, and the script won't interfere with each other and get all confused and cause all the doors to open at once or weird things like that.
Yep.
Right, we're almost done now.
Are we?
Yes, almost done.
Almost done. Right.
Thank you for bearing with me. Obviously, I've not actually done a tutorial before, so I know it's not been perfect.
Yeah, we'll still have this up. So if you need to go over any of it, you can just rewind later.
I will be doing another one next week. I don't know if it's the same time, but I'll do another one, and I'll do some slightly more advanced scripting, as I know some of you have been expecting to have more advanced scripting, but we're only doing the basics at the moment. Right, so I have this part here, put it inside my model. So this will be the trigger. If I make this if I make this invisible and turn the collisions on it off and call it trigger.
Yeah, some of these things they still don't understand what these are.
Yeah, well, it's quite simple. You can use anchored so it will never move. Can collide here will mean nothing collides with it. I think
It basically means you can walk through it.
Yeah.
And you can put bricks through it and things like that.
But the important thing is, even though you're walking through it, the touched event will still fire. It will still register something touching it and tell the script to run. So instead of using this, we use script.parent.trigger, not touch, and connect that to Rollyjock is a scrub. And we'll now open the door whenever someone comes into contact with invisible brick. Which means if I've done this right,
Which you probably
crossing
won't
my
have.
fingers, I've broken something. Oh dear, let's see, C-frame have not... There you go, remember saying earlier about using caps? I've missed out the caps here. This is why it's really easy to make errors, because, you know, one misplaced caps, when that's a lowercase, when it shouldn't have been, and your whole script breaks. I think I need to, there's still some adjustments to make, I think, you know. So firstly, how much you want it to move by. Well, let's see, the door is, let's see, it's 11 blocks wide. So we want it to move by. Actually, that should be the right amount. Right, so as you can see, I've been a fool and I removed our little enabled equals false, enabled equals true thing I put in earlier to prevent it from running multiple times. Don't forget that if I put it in like this, so that, you know, starts the code, now enabled is false so it can't run it again, goes through here, now it's finished running, enables true, it can now run again. There you go. Obviously you want to make those bricks slightly wider so it doesn't do that weird glitchy graphics thing. So all that's left to do now is make it close again. So you just put how long you want it to be open for, let's just say 5 seconds. And you just use the same loop, but you change a plus to a minus. And in theory, it will now have a working door. So OCD, have to make it like that. Right. There you go. That when someone comes up to your door, it will open by itself, and people will think you're some sort of Leap 1337 coder. Well, okay, they won't think that, but you know, it looks a lot nicer than just having parts that can glide off. See, nice and simple. I think that's everything. Here's our finished code.
Yeah.
I think that's everything for today's tutorial. I will be doing another one next week.
Ish,
And,
maybe.
yeah, ish. I'll be doing some more complex ones. I think I might start telling you how to turn it into like a scanner door, like the one I have at the labs.
Yeah, that's the next plan. Yeah. We'll try and turn it into a scanner door next time.
Yep. If anyone have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And remember, this will be archived on the thing, so you can just rewind and try this. Tell us if we've covered everything, if you got stuck, etc.,
Yep.
etc.
Well, I
We'll
think that'll be
improve for the
archived in
next
2
one.
parts because we cut out a bit, but yeah. See, so no questions? I'm going to turn the stream back to idle, but I'll continue checking for questions for a few minutes afterwards. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. That was it. Thank you for watching. Make sure to tune in next week, and I'll be explaining some more advanced code. We're doing fancy stuff which makes you look awesome. That's it from Mad Attack and Rolly Jock.
Yeah,
And Spliz did occasionally say something, but he went, he's a scrub. So that's it. Goodbye.